and think to yourself, it's not a derby, it's not a derby, it's not a derby, it's not a derby, it's not a derby. This is the Blue Monday podcast. It's not a derby, Seb. It's not a derby. Local derby, I accept, but derby, grudge match, no.
I don't even accept that. The term derby can't be used in relation to this game. We have our derby against them up the road, and they have Peterborough. Those are the two respective club derbies. The term derby should not be used in this game whatsoever.
That's the official stance of Seb and I, not the opinion of Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town and Cambridge United a little bit. Discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Rich Woodard, and this is the pre-match show brought to you in partnership with our good friends at the Ground Pub in Ipswich. We're available every week on YouTube video and podcast audio, and he's already been heard. You know he's here. Seb Brown, how are you, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, I do have quite strong views on this one. I'm sure we discussed this last year as well, but yeah for me, it's
Colchester's not a derby either.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We have one derby, and it's Norwich, and I assume Cambridge have one derby that is Peterborough. I assume, or I don't know. But either way, the games between these two clubs are not derbies. But no, I'm good, thank you, mate. I'm all right. I got my Burnley ticket this morning, so I'm looking forward to a trip up to Turf Moor next Tuesday, whenever it is. So. I think he's going. I think so. I might have been in with the home fans, and he was pretty disgusted at that and made jibes about me drinking vanilla latte surrounded by diehard Burnley fans. So
response then, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's going. I'm sure if he is, we'll meet up there at some point.
You're going with your Burnley mate?
No, again, he might have abandoned me, so I might be flying solo. But if I do, I'm sure I'll be on one of the midweek shows next week to gauge my opinions as we look forward to hopefully a win and hopefully the fifth round.
Yeah. Any thoughts on? I mean, let's be honest, we'll probably
Alan
lose.
Partridge shrug meme insert here when you ask me about the fifth.
But Sheffield Wednesday round. Fleetwood is also a replay. That's helpful, isn't it?
Very. Yeah, I was a bit. Yeah, when me and Ben did the pre-match show last week for Burnley, we said the one thing we didn't want was a replay. But I wasn't at Portman Road. I managed to catch bits of it in the highlights and stuff like that. It looked like a very decent performance. And as we said, if it has to be a replay, then you want it off the back of a good 90 minutes, and that's what it was. And I guess Wednesday or Fleetwood is a potential to go through to the quarterfinals. Or is there a sixth round? I don't know what they would label it as, but. Yeah, I mean Christ. You need David. When was the last time Ipswich Town were involved at that stage of the FA Cup? No, that was the fifth round, wasn't it? I'm saying if we beat, if we win, if we were to, it's a good chance to beat Fleetwood or Sheffield Wednesday if it gets through. But I was a bit
93 Arsenal.
Okay, but I was a bit disappointed when I think was it Man United and West Ham and us and with the last four balls, and we managed to get Fleetwood or Sheffield Wednesday. At least it's at home. Look on the bright side.
Yeah. I thought it was quite amusing. Ipswich Sheffield United as a possible permutation there. And that will be an exciting one to talk about next week, won't it? So, watch this space. In terms of bits and pieces of news, transfer deadline day, along with my opinions on derbies, I think transfer deadline day is an absolute sham and a waste of space. I was driving through town on the 31st and listening to Talk Sport, as you do. And Simon Jordan was doing a double shift with Jim White, and Simon Jordan was so depressed and miserable about it. It's like, yeah, good. I don't agree too much with Simon Jordan, but on this bit, he's like, I think he was sort of saying that when he was owner at Palace, he likes the summer window because you feel like you're building. The January window is like you've screwed up and you need to
reactive, isn't it? It's reactive. And did you see what Paul Warne said about after the
yeah, go on.
He said basically someone mentioned it to him and he said, is it transfer deadline day? Oh, Sky should do something about that.
I love that.
Delivered with excellent deadpan and sarcasm. It was a superb response.
So would you say that in echoing to that thought of Simon Jordan, our January business was to fix something, or was it slightly more progressive than that?
Can I quote Mr. Diamond and say a bit of both? I think we all have to be delighted with the business. We got stuff done early. Obviously, the Luongo one came in the first week or so of the window after Middlesbrough released him, and that story had broken pre-Christmas. So that ticked the central midfield cover, which was becoming a bit of an issue because at the time Evans was still working his way back, Ball was out, Kamara was out, and then the two attacking options that joined obviously towards the first FA Cup round weekend. I think we all knew we needed a striker up front to help ease the burden on Ladapo, and as we've seen, Ladapo is able to take his game to another level and is doing really, really well with that enhanced competition inside the building. Broadhead, we kind of wanted another attacking midfield option in the number 10 or the wide left roles, and that's a permanent deal for a player of good pedigree and good age, so we have to be delighted with that. And then the icing on the cake towards the end of the window, it must have been in the last week or so, was obviously Harry Clarke returning home and had that brilliant debut against Morecambe that me and Mikey discussed after the post-match. So yeah, for me, it was an excellent window. I can't think of any kind of missed opportunities. I was listening to the Dara McAnthony Hard Truth podcast today, and he was saying they had 4 bids in for a central midfielder from a League One rival. So it was clearly us. We were clearly going for him. Maybe that's been parked until the summer. But if you had bought him in, then players would have had to have moved on for both registration purposes and I guess squad harmony purposes. So from all the ins, for me, superb window. Business done. Ashton said in December we'd leave no stone untouched, and McKenna has been fully backed here, and we've now got this sequence of games to go on, and we're at full strength. And yeah, for me, it was an excellent window, exactly what we needed.
And in comparison to the other top 3, obviously Plymouth got, to use your word, bodies in early doors, didn't they? Sheffield Wednesday got McGuinness back and brought in Nathan Flint, didn't they? So defensive.
One in, one out. But Flint, I know he's very experienced, but I see that as a bit of a downgrade, don't you? I mean, McGuinness out and Flint in. I know
McGuinness came back, didn't he?
No.
I thought McGuinness came back. Have I misread that?
Yeah, check that. I don't think he did. We discussed Plymouth in the pre-match show. They made a lot of signings after Whittaker got recalled that we kind of discussed as being ones for the future a little bit, didn't we? The likes of Tyreek Wright, who came in from Villa after his loan to Bradford in the first half of the season. They kind of looked to be maybe building a little bit for the future with their buys. But no, for me, I think Wednesday kind of left slightly, unless you're going to Google now and tell me that McGuinness did go back and I completely missed it. But I thought he got recalled and was part of the Cardiff squad under whoever the new manager's going to be.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought someone was maybe I misread, and this is why I hate deadline day. But yeah, I think probably of all of the 3, in terms of the strength of those options, I know Plymouth's form has kept consistent without Whittaker, and I think that Whittaker deal was always felt pie in the sky, didn't it, a little bit? But I think those options would get in their teams, wouldn't they? Broadhead, Clarke, and
definitely,
and Hurst when he's up to full pace. So we have to take positivity from that.
Yeah, and the pedigree of players we're signing, Hurst is from a Premier League club. Broadhead, I know he's had time in the Championship and League One, but he's come from Everton. Harry Clarke at Arsenal, we're signing, top quality players from higher up the food chain to our position, whereas some of the signings we discussed for Plymouth had come from League Two or League One, compatriots. So yeah, I think of the 3 our business has been absolutely superb. And now it's up to them to go and deliver, isn't it? And go on this run of wins that we do need.
Yeah, more on that shortly. But yeah, McGuinness played for Cardiff or Luton, so on deadline days.
That's why I'm here, folks, to add the accuracy.
There you go. I'm just here to press the buttons. Talk to me about the outgoings very quickly as well. Quite a few loans. We're kind of like the Chelsea of League One, aren't we? No surprises about Hadmi. Yengi's an interesting one. I guess good that I think it sounded like he had a positive move back to Australia on loan, didn't he? But I quite like the idea of that move to Northampton. And Darber has traded one League One team for another. And you've noted here that Carl Edwards was subject to interest but has stayed.
Apparently so, yeah. I mean, Hadmay makes perfect sense. He wasn't going to get any game time here, and as soon as Burton sold the striker to Bolton, forgive me, I can't remember his name, they needed a striking option up front. There was a bit of gamesmanship a few weeks ago, wasn't there, where they couldn't possibly afford the proposal that we were putting together, but that all got worked out, which is great for him. He needs to go and play some football now. Hopefully he can have a bit of an impact, because he was on fire there before he joined us, and if he can take some points off our rivals, that'd be great. Tete Yengi, signed a new 18-month deal, didn't he? Then moved to Northampton. Again, he must be relatively highly thought of. He had a spell out, did he go Eastern Sweden or somewhere, did he, in the the last 6 months. I can't remember where
I thought he
went.
went to Australia, but then I think Mark McGuinness.
No, he's Australian, isn't he? He's Australian.
He is Australian, but I thought he meant that. But yeah, maybe I'm confusing. This is the trouble. I think I'm confusing it with
Ben Morris went to Sweden, didn't he? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I loaned him back to Melbourne City in FM23. That's why I know that. So that's
right, okay.
Yeah. I'm confusing. Well, Football Manager is basically like real life now, isn't it? So sorry, continue.
If he goes there and has a good, we've protected ourselves by getting him to sign a contract first, which is what we didn't do with Simpson 18 months ago, whenever it was. So if he goes there and delivers, then happy days. Corey Darber only made 7 starts in the league for Burton, made a couple of Pizza Cup and EFL Cup and FA Cup games as well, but he wasn't really playing there. And obviously Burton now have something crazy like 7 loans. So I assume the recall and the shipping out to Fleetwood was to help facilitate the Hadmay transfer. So if he can go there and mentor Toto Nsiala through the second half of the season, then fair play to him. And Carl Edwards, there was this rumour, wasn't there, on the Monday, the day before deadline day, that Hull had approached for a permanent transfer, and I don't know how true it was. Sky Sports reported it, but Sky Sports will pretty much report anything on deadline day or the run up to it to try and drum up some interest. So for me, I'm quite happy he's changed. I do see him as a bit of a game changer and a spark off the bench. I think he offers something that no one else does, and I think you want your players on the bench, don't you, to be potential game changers, potential match winners. And for me, he's been making the bench when we've got these in large squads recently. So I think McKenna sees that in him as well, and hopefully he'll have a big moment or two before the end of the season.
Fingers crossed.
How would you rate the window? What would you give it out of 10? How would you rate ignore the outgoings, they don't really matter, but the incomings, how would you rate it out of 10? What do you think?
8.
8? What more would you have wanted?
Morgan Whittaker and Jack Taylor. 8's a good score.
Squad already.
8's a good score. 10. What would you? 10 out of 10. Nothing gets 10 out of 10.
9 for me.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not as easy to please, obviously. There's so much of this pod. I'm thinking, am I going to edit this out? Is it scripted? Rich says this is scripted. It's not. No. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think there's scope for improvement. Is all I'm saying. Not much. We got what we needed. But we're a bit, if there's an injury for one of Hurst or Ladapo right now, Jackson's the backup option, and we know that he's now basically a right winger, isn't he? So until Tyrese John Jules comes back, which I think we're expecting in February,
back on the grass, tick,
is suggesting stuff. So, but there is a risk there. I'm not saying we should have signed another striker, but anyway, Broadhead, I guess, could play up front, couldn't he, if he needed? But yeah, 8's a good score. It's in net promoter score. I'd be a promoter.
It's a passive. 8, no, you're not. 8's a passive.
Oh, are you sure?
Yep, it affected my pay for about 10 years.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's why
9 and 10 are fine. 7 and 8
it's people like me who think it's a good score.
Best service ever. 8.
8, yeah. Must try hard.
Couldn't have done more. 7.
There you go. What's your score then? Did you give me your score? And I wasn't paying attention. You're 9. Okay.
9.
Cool. Let's move on. Talking of further transfer business, ITFC women have signed West Ham midfielder Brooke Cairns on a dual registration deal until the end of the season. She's got WSL experience and has been playing at #United and was in the team that defeated Town in the League Cup earlier in the season. So she'll add strength and depth and some competition for places in the midfield area. Town are away at Watford on the weekend. If you're London based and want to head down there, all the details on at ITFC Women, and also details of travel if you want to travel down from this part of the world. If you're, from where I am in Suffolk, at ITFC WOSC, but we wish the Trats girls all the best. It's a top of the table clash there, or just below the top of the table clash. Big psychological boost if we could get a win out of that one. So fingers crossed. Talking a big psychological boost if we could win away, Seb, let's talk about Cambridge. It's not a derby. We know that much. Talk to us about their league form so far.
It's not going well, is it? In the second, they're kind of suffering second season syndrome. They sit 23rd in the league with 25 points, 27 games played, 7 wins, 4 draws, 16 losses, scored 23 goals and conceded 46. Of the last 6 games, they are 22nd in the form table. They've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 4 of the last 6 games. And that includes 2 games where they conceded 5. Sheffield Wednesday, maybe unsurprisingly, and Shrewsbury 5-1. They actually beat Shrewsbury. That was their last win. They beat Shrewsbury at the Abbey 2-1, I think it was, on Boxing Day. And they got battered by them a few weeks later with that weird, when we played Oxford, that weird kind of flip reverse fixture with 4 weeks apart. They got battered 5-1. So, yeah, not going well.
And the home form within that form, 21st in the home. form league table. And yeah, you mentioned the win at Shrewsbury. That's the or win over Shrewsbury. That's the only one in there for a while. Only one win since October 25th, as you say.
And the killer stat here: 14 defeats in the last 20 league games.
Oh, dearie me. But a draw last time out, though, Seb.
Yeah, but it was Lincoln.
Everyone draws at Lincoln.
Everybody draws at Lincoln. It's just how it goes. Yeah, they drew 0-0 last weekend away to Lincoln. 42% possession, 12 shots, only 3 on target. Watch the highlights. Not a great deal to report back on, but I guess they'll take some kind of comfort from a clean sheet, maybe away from home, and they can look to build on that.
Remind us of where they finished last season, because it was a really excellent return for them, wasn't it? And Mark Bonner, we'll talk about him in a second, but his status really elevated as a result of getting them pretty comfortable in the league. And obviously they beat us at Portman Road, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, they did, and they obviously drew at the Abbey last year. So they finished 14th last season, 58 points after winning promotion from League Two. The 2-2 draw, well, it felt like a 2-2 defeat, didn't it, in October last year when Shawnee Aluko puts us 2-0 up, and Brophy gets one back before half-time, and then Ironside with a goal that everyone in the country could see coming, apart from Paul Cook, with an 88th minute equaliser. And then there was the playoff coupon busting 1-0 win. It must have been March or early April time, I think, at Portman Road, where was it Ironside again got the goal? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, they just did a job on us and we couldn't break them down, and that really kind of put a spanner in the works. I think that was probably the weekend where quite a lot of us realised that the playoffs just weren't going to happen, because another game was ticked off and we still needed a ridiculous run of points to finish in the top 6. And also we've played them twice this season so far. The Pizza Cup game at the Abbey, but yeah, Carl Edwards sent off was a joke. We lost 1-0, but Carl Edwards being sent off was a joke and completely altered the game. And the very comfortable 3-0 win in the end at Portman Road back in October time, where we had to be, patient, and they were resolute and they were hard to break down. But we got the breakthrough on 72 through Tyrese John Jules, and then Carl Edwards scores that worldy wonder cross. And then I actually preferred his second goal, the third goal, where he kind of gets onto it from the outside of the area with the outside of his right foot and kind of stabs the ball home. But it was a comfortable win in the end, but we had to be patient to break them down. And I think that's how Saturday might go as well.
And we people have mentioned it, and I think I might have mentioned it on the Flagship show, this record at Cambridge. Worth noting, we've only had 5 league games in our entire history at Cambridge. And we have one there in the League Cup, hence the shirt behind me. From 93-94, where I think Kiwami scores a 2-0 win, I think it was. But it's 5 league games overall, 2 at the Abbey, 2 draws. It's not a sample size that's big enough to form some kind of Oxford-like hoodoo, is it? So yeah, we'll focus on the matter at hand, which is their form in the league, and take it from there. But the boss, Mark Bonner, we've mentioned him a few times. I mean, a big reputation, or was building quite a big reputation last season off the back of that mid-table, that 14th place finish. Started the season really strongly as well.
Yes, yeah.
And that drew attention, didn't it, Seb?
It did, yeah. I mean, they were briefly top at one point. I think they went 1-0 up away at Portsmouth, I think it was, and they went top of the league at one point. They were 10th when we placed them only a couple of points outside the playoffs, and we beat them back in October. And yeah, Bonner, who was the previous season ticket holder at the Abbey and had worked in the academy and development roles for the club and had been made permanent in January 2020, was riding the crest of a wave, wasn't he? He wins promotion from League Two in 2020-2021 unexpectedly, I think it's fair to say, comfortably. Kept them up without any kind of issues last year. But he got an approach after Paul Warne leaves Rotherham to go to Derby. Rotherham approach him. I don't know. He turned them down. I don't know if it was with regards to personnel or terms or whatever. But since he's done that, they've kind of gone on this absolutely awful run that's coincided with him, refusing to do that job. And me and Ben discussed this before the Rotherham game, because that was a bit of a surprise, because you think of Rotherham as being I know he's a Cambridge fan and, KC, former season ticket holder, etc. But, if you want to get a gig in the Championship, Rotherham's not a bad gig. They're a pretty stable club. Okay, you're going to be up against it budgetary wise, but even if you go down, they're not going to fire you. They'll put your faith in you to get them back up again. So if you wanted to make that natural move up the food chain of the pyramid, it seemed like a very logical move. But for whatever reason, he doesn't do it, and they immediately then go and lose 5 games on the bounce. Only won 2 league wins since then, and it's just all gone horribly wrong. His overall record is managed 154 games, won 67, drawn 28, lost 59, 1.49 points per game. But this run that they're on, the 14 defeats in the last 20 games, surely the credit he's accrued in the bank for the promotion and the comfortable place finish, if it goes on much longer, surely there must be some pressure building.
It's a weird one, isn't it? We've talked about it with Gab as well. As a young manager building a reputation in the game, as I keep saying, the offers of further up the pyramid don't come too often.
Yeah,
and I
and when
know
you get
that,
a stable offer, it makes sense.
Yeah, I get the point that sometimes some clubs are dysfunctional more than others.
Yeah,
but it kind of depends what his motivations are, right? And if his motivations are success with Cambridge, that's fair enough, and we can totally understand that. But it's not a long career as a football manager, particularly as a young football manager. If you don't get that success, people move on very quickly, don't they? And if they were to go back down again, and he wasn't to get them back out of League Two at the first attempt, he'd be sacked, wouldn't he? And that's the flip side of this. Whereas, there's a good chance he gets the job at Rotherham. They, probably come down, but hopefully they put up a bit of a fight. But he's back in League One, and he's got the resources of a team with some championship income and probably better standard of players, with no disrespect to Cambridge. It feels like a overall much better position, but maybe he didn't back himself. Maybe there was something else at play there. The owner at Cambridge bleeded on hands and knees. I don't know, but it has just since that 29th of September decision, as you said, the 5-game losing streak, which included the defeat to us, I think, or maybe that was just before. I think there might have been the second or third game after that. And then, 2 league wins since then, compared to 5 wins prior to that on the 29th of September.
It started well,
2 wins, 3 draws, 12 losses in that run. So something's gone on there, and very strange.
And it's a strange one, because you just mentioned there, if his idea of success with Cambridge is his overall goal, which is fine, it's perfectly admirable if he's a Cambridge fan, but I mean, that ceiling probably is mid-table, what he did last year, isn't it? It's 14th, 13th in League One. He's never going to have the budget to compete with some of the the
League One's changed, isn't it? We keep talking about this. It's of the teams that don't go up this season, there is big spenders in there. Let's say, for argument's sake, Derby, Bolton and Barnsley don't go up.
Peterborough, Portsmouth, Charlton,
exactly
former Premier League side.
And there are going to be 3 teams that are going to come down from the Championship, including probably Rotherham, who are seasoned veterans, are getting promoted. Hull, possibly, I don't know.
Wigan,
who will be favourites to bounce straight back up as well. So you're right that it's possibly sneaking the playoffs. Maybe is the ambition there, but anyway, we'll move on. Let's talk about their January acquisitions and business. I guess the one that I picked out was positively was a new deal for Jack Lancaster, but some signings there. So talk us through them.
Yeah, they've kind of gone for a quite obvious model, haven't they? They've gone for experience and leadership characteristics, I guess, to get them out of this mess. And they've gone for relatively short-term deals as well, which is kind of another view that, they may be protecting themselves in case the worst does come to the worst and they do end up getting relegated. George Thomas arrived from QPR, midfielder, arrived from QPR on deadline day on a permanent deal on a short-term contract at the end of the summer. Michael Morrison's been re-signed. He played for them before. He joined them from Pompey. I think he played against us in the Christmas week game, didn't he? He's joined from Portsmouth to add some experience at the back, as has Ryan Bennett from Swansea. They've brought these 2 new centre-backs in, and when I think of those 2, I think of kind of physicality, leadership and experience, which I guess is what you need when you're...
Bennett's ex-Norwich, is he? Peterborough, that guy?
I don't think it's that guy, no.
I'll do some Googling. You keep going.
And Steve Seddon joined for a left back, joined from Oxford, and they have this weird curse of left back players, and it's had to result in a formation change. Steve Seddon came in to replace an injured player. He fractured a cheekbone on his debut, so he won't feature against us. Harrison Dunk has been out since Boxing Day. He was the reserve left back to Brandon Hanstrup, who's been out since August. So they've had 3 left backs this season, all get injured, and that's led to a bit of a formation change. You're nodding your head. That probably tells me that you're correct, that it is the ex-Norwich, ex-Peterborough guys.
It's my turn to be right. So Peterborough started his career, Grimsby, Peterborough, Norwich, then back to Peterborough on loan. Wolves, spell at Leicester on loan in 2020, long spell at Swansea, and then Cambridge.
So you're talking decent Premier League experience as well.
Yeah,
then.
caliber.
Yeah. And Conor McGrandles as central midfielder joined on loan from Charlton as well. So it's kind of loans and free transfers mainly to the end of this season for the next 4 or 5 months to get them out of the mire a bit. And I kind of do you remember when we were in trouble in the January and Mick went out and Stearman joins and a few did Kisnorbo come in, a few kind of experienced pros who I guess you thought might be good for the dressing room came in to show a bit of leadership. That's what it kind of reminded me of when I was doing the research. They're kind of looking for those vocal players who've been here, done that, got the T-shirt to hopefully get them out of a mess. And Jack Lancaster, like you said, signed a new 2.5-year deal in January. So pleased for him. He was always a player that I liked and rated, and yeah, pleased for him that he's got himself settled there.
It's interesting that we'll talk about the stats in a bit, but their goals against at home, 16 is mid-table. It's pretty average. Yet they've gone for a lot of solid, dependable, experienced centre-backs. You wonder whether they might have been better going for more creative players, perhaps. I don't know. But
or maybe they're looking we'll discuss their players shortly, but maybe they're looking at the fact that they do have proven goals in this team further up the pitch, as we saw last season, who haven't got firing yet. So I guess maybe they're kind of throwing their eggs in the basket of, if we can sort out the back and make it leaky tight, and our form players do show some of last year's consistency and last year's form, we can get ourselves out of this mess.
But it's only just over 1 goal a game they're conceding at home, which, is similar to us, right? If we stop conceding the marginal goals and continue to score goals, we'll win games 1-2-0, won't we? So, yeah, maybe the same strategy. Fair enough. How will these players be used then? So there was a bit of a formation change, perhaps out of necessity.
It's changed.
Lincoln, but yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was very much a 4-2-3-1 for the first 20-something games of the season. And then 2 games ago away at Shrewsbury, it changed to a 3 at the back system. It kind of coincided with injuries to the left backs, like I just mentioned. So they haven't really got an out-and-out left back in the squad. It coincided with the arrival of Morrison and Bennett as well, 2 centre-halves who can, comfortably kind of slot into a back 3 and add some presence. Lloyd Jones came back from an injury. He's the left-sided centre-back. He came back from injury, so he naturally slotted into the left-side centre-back position. And they had a guy, Liam Bennett, who was on loan at Walsall for the first half of the season, who's a right wing back / right back. And he was doing okay. So they recalled him, and he's kind of slotted into that right wing back role. So, yeah, kind of a formation change through necessity of injuries due to the fact they've got no left backs, and also reflecting the transfer business of adding some experience, know-how, and nous at the back.
Talk to us where the goals come from. You mentioned the strikers are pretty effective. Hindsight we mentioned, and Sam Smith's the other one.
They were last year. I mean, last year Sam Smith is finished with 15 goals. Ironside got 14 goals, but they haven't really kind of got going yet this season. Smith's got 6. Ironside's got 5. Smith has also missed 9 big chances, so they certainly were creating chances and not taking them. So I guess a lot of them last season came from that. The 4-2-3-1. Ironside was the focal striker. I seem to remember, was it Burgess had a bit of his hands full against him at the Abbey game back in the October. He's a very good back to goal striker. Smith was kind of playing in that inside forward channel, wasn't he? And he was looking to make late runs into the box and look to get involved after Ironside had done the donkey work for him. And they just worked really well as a partnership. But this season they haven't really got going yet, which explains why they are where they are so far this year. Harvey Nibbs has got 4 goals and 3 assists from 24 starts. He has also missed 9 big chances, the same as Sam Smith. So again, they are creating some chances for their players, and when they make the chances, they're just simply not taking them. Obviously, Wes Hoolahan has moved on. Maybe that kind of loss of creativity, forgive me, I don't know how many games he started last season, but maybe that kind of clever player in the number 10 role looking to pick out pockets of space leaving has affected them. Jack Lancaster has got 2 goals and an assist in 9 starts, so he's kind of not an ever-present, but they've rewarded him well enough to give him a new contract. What did you think of Lancaster? I liked him. I wouldn't have minded if he'd have hung around for another season or 2. What's your memories of him as a Town player?
Yeah, so I just go back to his debut or his first Town goal against Millwall.
On the must-win New Year's Day game.
Yeah, where we took the lead and then got pegged back in the second half. And that was an excellent goal. Yeah, I mean, injuries obviously were a problem, weren't they? They were a factor, and probably maybe the overriding factor behind his departure. But I like him. Creativity, can play wide, and maybe I think they play him centrally sometimes as well, Cambridge. I like him. I'm pleased that he's making a career at Cambridge. But yeah, probably in terms of where we are now, if he'd stuck around, he wouldn't be in the current team, would he? I guess against Burns or
very true,
Broadhead or the like. So, but yeah, good luck for him. Obviously,
I guess he's
after Saturday.
I guess he's like Dobra, isn't he? I guess he's one of those that at the time was exciting for us, but we've just moved on as a club, so he would have got What have got left behind a little bit? Diggers. Paul Digby is still there. He's the Diggers, the captain, the sitter, the ever-present so far this season. He's the one that will sit there and mop up, most likely with McGrandler alongside him. James Brophy is kind of filling in the left wing-back role, given the injuries that they've got. He scored against us. He got the first goal back in the 2-2 draw last season. He's not got going so far this year. He's only got 1 assist, no goals so far this year. So like Smith and like Ironside, he's not kind of, got to the heights of last season. And Dimitar Mitov is back. He's the goalkeeper. He had a spell out with injury, but he's back in the side now. Only kept 3 clean sheets so far this season. Cambridge have kept 5. He's only kept 3 so far this season. Averages 2.5 saves per game, and you can see he's on average 1.7 goals per game. So, when we discuss the stats in a minute, and given our, what we need to do, this is a game we simply have to win.
And you've mentioned the curse of the left back as well.
Yeah,
Adam May also out, centre back.
He's a loss.
Mid.
Yeah, he's a loss. He's kind of one of their major creative forces from last season, isn't he? 32 starts last year. He's out. I think he's out for the season. He did his cruciate, I think it was back in August time. So he's out for the season. And that combined with the left backs kind of explains, it's not a big squad. They haven't got the resources of some of the bigger boys in the league, and that explains why they are struggling.
Let's do some stats. We'll focus on the home stats as it pertains to Saturday's game. XG not great, 4th lowest XG, 1.18 per game versus 0.92 goals scored per game. So their XG is already low, and they're underachieving against it as well, as you said, Seb. So they're not scoring as many goals as XG would have for them. 12 goals scored at home, similarly the 4th worst in League One as well. They do create those big chances, though, as you said, 13th in League One for big chance created. They just seem quite profligate. But yeah, shots per game, pretty low, 5th worst, only average about 11 shots a game. Of those, 3 are on targets, the worst in the division. All of their home goals from open play, no set piece goals, no penalties. So there's no kind of plan B, as it were. And yeah, shots outside the area, shots within the 6-yard box, they're 2nd lowest in the league. So that kind of tells the story there.
When you read those stats, it goes back to what you said a minute ago. Why didn't they just get a striker? If they're creating big chances,
or a midfielder, central midfielder, right? Who's going to shoot? Like they need an attacking midfielder who's going to break forward,
arrive late, and get on the end
of
the
box,
things.
kind of.
Yeah,
they need a Tommy Miller type, don't they?
Oh yes, what's a player?
I mean, is that maybe George Thomas? We don't really know too much about him. Perhaps that
potentially, maybe, or Conor McGrandles, maybe from Charlton. I can't pretend to know too much about their styles of playing stuff. Maybe that's who they're looking to bring in. I guess they brought that experience in, haven't they? They're experienced at championship level, so maybe that's what they've gone for, to try and hopefully get some goals.
We know that they're not possession heavy.
No,
46% possession, 5th worst. Passing accuracy of 61%, 2nd worst. 73% of their passes are short, though, but then they've got 82 long balls per game, which is the joint 4th highest. So a bit of a confusing one there. No surprise that as a result of the long balls they're playing, they're decent in aerial duels. They're 7th in the league for aerial duels, won about 24 per game on average, and 3rd lowest dribbles per game. So they're not going to be dribbling at us. So it's difficult to see in terms of pattern of play what we should expect there. Perhaps it's going to be direct up to Ironside or Smith, perhaps.
And then get the others involved off them, I think. So interesting, isn't it? You just said a minute ago, they've scored no goals. All their goals are from open play. They've scored no goals from set pieces, and yet they are decent in aerial duels. That seems strange. You would think a side that is decent in the air would naturally score a couple of set piece corners or headers, whatever, wouldn't you? So that's interesting. I guess the long ball option, when you've got a striker like Ironside up top, the long ball option must be pretty tempting. If you're struggling a little bit, you can just launch it like we did for so many years with Murphy up front. You can just launch it, and with his back to goal, he'll look to bring the ball down and then get runners in and around him to feed off him.
Yeah, Bennett's a unit, 6'2".
Yeah, has
previously scored.
Morrison's a unit.
Goals. Yeah. So maybe that's a new threat, and maybe that stat will change for them. Who knows? And defensively, I mean, maybe this tells some of the stories as well. 11.9 tackles per game at home, the lowest in the league. 5.4 interceptions per game, also lowest in the league. So they're not recycling the ball a huge amount of midfield by this seemingly as well. Don't commit too many fouls. 4th fewest fouls at home. But yeah, XGA, the 9th worst, as it were, expected goals a game versus Yeah, yeah. I've not put the number annoyingly, so I couldn't tell you what the number is, but they are definitely 1.23 goals per game conceded at home isn't particularly great. So yeah,
all these stats simply reinforce that we have to go there.
No
we have to win. This is
really.
no excuses. I know we're not maybe at must-win game of the season yet, but if we're serious about hunting down the top two, and with what's coming next weekend and what's coming this weekend when they're playing each other, we simply have to go to Cambridge, be professional, put on a performance, and get out of there with 3 points. This is a side that is really, really struggling. The stats all prove that. They don't score that many goals. They do concede. They're not streetwise in the fact that they're not bringing people down, and they're not getting those tactical fouls. This is a game that we simply have to go there, turn up, be professional, and win.
So the XGA is actually 1.43. So it's the 9th worst, but actually their goals conceded is a little bit less. So they're actually doing moderately better than the chances they're conceding. And that kind of chimes with the thought that defensively, as I mentioned, mid-table in terms of goals against, it's only 16 goals against, which is, very much middle of the league. So goals against at home doesn't appear to be a massive problem. They obviously have conceded 1.23 goals a game.
But it's
at least one they concede.
And it's those 12 goals they've scored at home, isn't it? That's killing them. They're going to get nowhere with that, are they?
Other random bits and pieces I found that they're bottom of the first half league table, both at home and overall. They are the worst team points wise based on first half performances. Moderately better in the second half, but not much better. 22nd, I think. And you found another stat.
Yeah, 2.7 instances per 90 minutes of possession won in the final third is the second worst in the league. And to me, that suggests a side that's pretty crap at pressing. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, the interceptions numbers are 5, just above 5 interceptions on average per game at home, lowest in the league. That chimes with that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this has to be professional. Has to be go there, and if they're so bad in the first half, if we can replicate what we did against Morecambe, where it was just wave after wave of attack, if we could score early, then surely their heads will drop. The run they've been on will come into play, and this should be relatively, hopefully, straightforward for us. Touch wood.
Well, let's talk about us in a sec. We'll be back after this.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
So let's talk about us then, Seb. Some easy calls first off. Clark in at right back.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Obviously, he was so good against Morecambe. Danassian was fine against Burnley, and he'll play again in the replay next week. But yeah, Clark straight back in. We saw against Morecambe his athleticism. He's a confident lad. He's not afraid to have a pop. He's looked a hell of a player. So definitely straight back in.
And up against a makeshift left wing back in
Brophy.
If it's Brophy. Edmondson starts, tick.
I think he deserves to. Yep, he's had a really good week with the clean sheet against Morecambe and the clean sheet against Burnley. So you and me spoke in the last one. Was it the Oxford game we did about Burgess? And yeah, for me, I think now Edmondson comes into that left-sided role, and hopefully he'll stay fit for the rest of the season. And I guess the debate then is alongside. Obviously, you were at the Morecambe game where we saw Keogh in there. He was very vocal in the first half. He's playing against maybe an old-fashioned striker in Joe Ironside with his back to goal, a bit like Cole Stockton that McKenna brought him in for. Would you keep Keogh in there? Or would you look to bring Wolfenden back in for the league programme?
So I was very supportive of the idea of keeping Keogh in the team in the Morecambe post-match, wasn't I? I wonder whether it's and then we know McKenna does this horses for courses kind of thing. Morecambe at home, I think we would anticipate having complete territorial dominance, which is exactly what happened, and therefore Keogh, in terms of defensive work, isn't going to be as busy as maybe an away game, and therefore maybe I see the logic in Wolfenden coming back in. And I actually think it's, we know Wolfenden is probably on paper our strongest centre back, so to me it makes total sense to bring Wolfenden back in, Keogh on the bench. So yeah,
I don't think he'll make the bench. I think we'll be going through the season now
Burgess.
with one. No, I think it'll just be Donasian because he can cover in 2 or 3 roles. And McKenna came out, didn't he, and spoke about, I'm going to load the bench with attacking options. So is that one of my ticks as well? Is it?
Yeah.
Bodies on the grass and came out. That's my 3 ticks. Is it? Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I think Donasian can cover both centre half and right back, and a push potentially maybe left back as well. So I think we will see the benches from the rest of the season loaded with attacking options, like McKenna said. And if you're centre back that doesn't make the starting 11, sorry, you're not involved this week.
See ya. Broadhead starts.
I think so. Yeah, back in the left-sided sort of forward role. He looked good against Morecambe, didn't he? He had a lovely through ball for the assist for Ladapo's goal. Was that the second or third one? Direct, full of running, pacey. Likes to get a shot off. Yeah, I'd have him, Chaplin in the middle, and Burns on the right. Burns and Davis are back in training, aren't they? He came out today, didn't he, and said they're both back in training.
Came out, did he?
Assuming they're back on the grass. McKenna came out and they're back on the grass. The bodies are nearly back. So I assume they'll come back. And if not, Greg Lee, by all accounts, did pretty well against Burnley, didn't he? So I'd have no issues with Greg Lee filling in the left back role if need be. And I guess up front, what would you do? I mean, we've seen Hurst came back in against Burnley and, was unlucky maybe with that early chance, which goes just the wrong side of the post. But, for me, it has to be Ladapo. What are your thoughts on the number 9, the central striking role?
I'd play Ladapo.
I think he's looked so good in the last few
ready for me. And isn't Ladapo? Have we announced Player of the Month? Is it?
Yeah, he won it, didn't he?
He did. So
he's done the pre-match. I think every time we see a player do the pre-match presser briefing in the Telegram group, we try and put together a historical look of how many players have started after doing the being on pre-match presser duties. So yeah, for me, I think he has to come in. And Hurst can play at Burnley and look to get some more minutes under his belt up there. But the Dapo's looked so good in January. He's back to goal play. He's holding up the ball. He's scoring goals. He's the man in form. I'd have him starting every day of the week.
We talked about Davis very briefly. It'd be great to have him in the team. 3 of Cambridge's goals at home have come from set pieces. That's 19% of the goals they've conceded. So that is an option and a route to goal for us if Davis is fit. We'll do some predictions shortly because there is obviously a big game happening elsewhere in League One this weekend. But first off, we are proud to be brought to you in partnership with the Greyhound. Great pre-match venue. We'll be there ahead of the big one next week, and I hope to see plenty of you there. So do support the Greyhound Innovation Labs as well. Merch store will have a new promo, I think pre-shipping promo next week. So if you're in the market for a Blue Monday hoodie, then we've got a discount. So wait until then. Flagship show will be back on Sunday. I don't know who's involved in that one, but probably me, maybe, I don't know, Dave, Craig, the usual suspects. Seb you didn't do too many Sunday appearances, do you?
We had all our weird Northern away games came in a bubble, didn't it, at the start of the first 2 months of the season, and there's been nothing since. And if I go to Portman Road, I'm travelling back on the Sunday, so it's not feasible. But I'll be, Burnley, you've got Bolton on the horizon, you've got Barnsley on the horizon.
There you go.
I'm sure
if you're a fan of Seb
appearance.
And Seb's sayings, then come into a Flagship show near you when Ipswich Town are away in the north. And as always, if you want to leave us a review, if you're watching on YouTube, a thumbs up, very much appreciated. Nudge us up the algorithm. So do subscribe as well. Get Blue Monday content in your YouTube inbox or whatever it's called, subscription feed. And yeah, I think that's all the stuff that we want to talk about. So let's do some predictions. Last time out, it's so long ago, I can't remember. So let's just move it on, shall we?
Form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah, there it is. The Derby Bolton result is enough to win Seb the week.
Again.
Again, still 3 behind. But yeah.
But wasn't I like 7 behind a few weeks ago?
All right.
You're crumbling, mate. You're Ipswich, basically. You were top of the league for so long, and it's all gone a little bit wrong.
So therefore, do we want me to have a resurgence? And maybe that's it. Maybe my fortunes, Ipswich Town's fortunes are aligned.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, so Ipswich have lost their lead at the top of the league because you're losing the prediction segment of the pre-match show.
Hey, man, stranger things have happened. But yeah, congratulations on another week. And we need to say thank you to FPL Tractor, who bows out with a 4 points haul for the week, obviously skewed by postponements, thanks to frozen pitches. But we thank FPL Tractor for his spell. We have Paul, who is taking over for this week. And where do we start, Seb? Shall we start at Sheffield Wednesday and talk to us about Sheffield Wednesday v Plymouth?
What do we want? You and me have gone for 1-1 draws here, and Paul's gone for a 1-0 home win for Sheffield Wednesday. What is the best outcome of this game? Because I've been over it 2 or 3 times in the last couple of days, and I keep changing my mind. I'm not sure if I accept that Plymouth are gone. Let's focus on second place. And obviously, if Plymouth beat Sheffield Wednesday, they'll be coming to us the following game, maybe with their confidence dented a little bit. Do you want a Sheffield Wednesday win to drag Plymouth back into it? Do you want a point because 2 points going somewhere is better than 3 points going somewhere? I don't know. I keep changing my mind with it. What are your thoughts, Richard?
Thanks, Sebastian. My thoughts are that a Sheffield Wednesday win is bad, if I'm honest. Ahead of next week, that's a massive momentum boost for them if they were to beat Plymouth. And I also... But that being said, Sheffield Wednesday win puts them joint top, I guess, with Plymouth, doesn't it? They're 3 points behind. They've got a superior goal difference. They'd go top. They've won their last 5 games in a row. I just can't see that. Plymouth's, away form is solid, as we know. Not as attacking and as winful as their home form. But I have predicted a draw, but I think Sheffield Wednesday might. I think Paul's prediction's quite astute. I think Sheffield Wednesday have the momentum of the 3 of us right now.
They do.
So the hope, I guess, is that Sheffield Wednesday defeating Plymouth is the start of Plymouth's fall away that every Ipswich fan, I guess, has been hoping for a while. I would not complain if it ended in a draw, though.
Yeah.
That's, for me, keeps them both in range. You know, I know Plymouth are top, aren't they? But we've kind of had our game in hand now. But 7 points at the moment. If it was, I don't want Plymouth to go off. I want a close race. So I'm going for. I think a draw is the right result there.
I enjoyed it on the Flagship where you discussed two sides, mass brawls, points deductions, all that kind of stuff.
Both get 5 players sent off each.
2 clubs entering administration and getting 12 point deductions, both of them. Yeah, I think the draw is the most likely outcome. Sheffield Wednesday winning, like you, is probably the worst case scenario because then they come to Portman Road absolutely buoyant, don't they? So let's go. Yeah, okay. I'll go for a draw and keep them both within touching distance. But by God, we have to beat Cambridge. If it gets to 5 p.m. and they've drawn 1-1 on Saturday and we've drawn 1-1, that wouldn't be great, would it?
Yeah. So if Sheffield Wednesday draw,
that
takes them to 59 points. A win for us takes us to 57.
Yeah, 2 points behind with the game in hand. Yeah,
a win next week puts us back up to
1 point above them, and they've still got the game in hand against. Was it Cheltenham was postponed? Wasn't it?
Oh, was it? Oh, brilliant.
It's not somebody difficult, but you never know.
Psychologically, right? You'd rather have the points on the board and all that jazz. In terms of other teams that are in interesting action, we're not expecting Cheltenham to put up a huge amount of a fight for Bolton, who've recruited really well. Has to be said. Derby, we're not expecting Morecambe to. Albeit they surprised Bristol Rovers, didn't they?
Where did that come from? Lost 4-0 to us, and was it 5-1? Where did that come from?
I don't know. So you never know, Derby. Don't discount Morecambe at your peril. Barnsley away at Portsmouth might dent their credentials a little bit. Obviously, a midweek win for Barnsley. Oxford turned up for us, didn't they? And then I nearly swore there, like a proper swear.
Yeah.
Like all of these teams, Wickham as well. They turn up for us and then they turn over the next game. So screw all of you guys. Peterborough away at Forest Green. We're not holding up a huge amount for Duncan.
He's won 2 out of 2, isn't he, Ferguson? He's won Port Vale and whoever they beat last weekend. So he's got 100% record and they're starting to. Yeah.
Is it the Ferguson derby? It is, isn't it? Yeah. Duncan.
Yeah. Did you see the times of when Duncan Ferguson lost? Did you see the times of the goals for?
Yes.
Shrewsbury, 94.
Ouch. Ipswich-esque, you might say.
You'd go crazy, wouldn't you?
Let's talk about us. We are all predicting win. I'm predicting a brain fart moment. But maybe those are gone if Burgess isn't there to deflect something. I'm being really harsh with Burgess. I don't mean to be, because he's been excellent for us. And as we talked about before, I just think there's a rick in there. And maybe Cambridge take an early lead and then we just
that'd be the worst. No, that would be the worst because they dig in and become resolute, and we'd get.
Yeah,
edgy,
but I think we've got too much quality there. If they score first in the first 5 minutes, they got 85 minutes. I'm not sure they hold on, but
clip this just in case.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, two goal mark. Well, you guys are going for a 2-0 win, aren't you? Seems pretty solid.
It has to be. We have to win this game. You know, their stats are awful. They're a side on an awful run of form, and we're going to have a great backing there. Was it 1,500 Town fans there? I think they've been back at Palmer as well. So yeah, we're going to be followed really, really well, and we just simply have to go there, do the business before the big one next weekend.
Yeah, don't concede. And maybe what I'm doing, Seb, is acknowledging my form in the predictions has dropped. So I'm predicting badly, and therefore what will happen is against me. So there you go. Either way, I have no idea what the logic is. Let's move on. The ramblings of a madman, you were going to say, weren't you? That's
you muted me. You pressed the button at just the right time.
Got in there. Are you madder than Brian Mad of Madcastle? Yes, I am. Yes, I'm the puppet master. My predictions control everything. No, let's move on. Thank you, everyone, if you made it this far. I appreciate all the support. Do give us a review, ideally a 5-star one on your podcast app of choice. Thumbs up on YouTube, very much appreciated, as well as a subscribe. Join us for the flagship show. If you are at Portman Road on Friday night, do say hi if you see me. Watching the under-18s take on Liverpool in the FA Youth Cup. We wish the team all the very best. A bit of a rivalry there from a couple of years ago, so it'd be good to get some revenge. And I'm looking forward to watching that one.
And it's being streamed, isn't it? We can, for those of us that live further afield, we can watch it on £3 on iFollow. Yeah, make sure you get on that.
And it's a central position, so I'll try and see if I can shout towards the camera and be heard.
Are you in which stand do you have to go in? Is it the Cobbold?
It's the Magnus stand.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that'll be good. We'll talk about that on Sunday, no doubt, as well. All the best to ITFC. We're in at Watford. And I think, Seb, apart from say thank you to you, as always, for your efforts.
I don't think you've mentioned Telegram.
Do you want to talk about Telegram?
Yeah, we've not mentioned it. Come and get involved. The numbers have grown nicely over the last... Yeah, grown over the last couple of weeks. We've opened Match Day Chat early. Joe went rogue and turned Match Day Chat into Transfer Deadline Day Chat, which you absolutely loved. But yeah, come and get involved. We had a few new additions in the last 2 weeks or so. So 2-week free trial. You won't lose anything. 7 groups or so, all going all times of the day and night. Always good conversation. They're respectful conversation, polite conversation, disagreements, but done in a constructive manner. And after the 2 weeks up, it's only a £5. So it's worth paying £5 just not to go on Twitter anymore.
And you get to hear Seb talk about people on the grass and bodies. And yeah, the Matchday Chat will be good, especially if you're if you're at the beam back, as it were, and then it's another.
It's worth saying if you live away like I do, Matchday Chat is superb because it gives you a real feel for things that you don't get on Twitter, or if it's a night game and you're able to watch it on iFollow, you don't get the same perception that you do from the Matchday Chat. So if you live further afield like I do, it's a brilliant way of keeping on track of things because you get all these different points of views with pictures and analysis and stuff, and it's really, really useful if, like me, you can't get to every game. So if you live over a couple of hours from Ipswich, get in the Telegram group.
And you get some of our contributors are fantastic as well. So Dan and Sean and Oscar from ITFC Analytics always chipping in with really insightful bits of information as well, which I think generally they share down their social medias, but everything's centralized. Really great people over there. So do come and join in. And apart from Telegram then, so everything else I think we've covered. Join us for the flagship show live on Sunday night, 8 p.m. as always. And I'll say thank you, mate. Thank you for all your hard work. And I'll let you have the final say as always.
It's not a derby. Just win Ipswich Town. Come on, you Blues.